Feels like forever. A lot's happened since we have last spoken. Welcome to the latest Gauer Hour. A lot to get to. Rob Joyce and live from London, England, Megan Gauer, European traveler. Megan, tell us about the trip. I know you just got to London, but been all over Europe.
Yeah, I just got to London from Germany this morning. We were in Prague first, went to a bunch of Christmas markets, drank a lot of mulled wine, getting in the festive spirit. So it's been good.
And no Thanksgiving travel issues?
No, very
I guess traveling
simple.
like
Other
on
than I
Thanksgiving.
did almost miss my flight because I'm dumb and left for the airport too late. But that's a me issue, not a anyone else issue.
So Megan is in a tiny conference room in London. I am home with my child because North Carolina is soft. The threat of wintry weather last night. So they shut everything down. And guess what? It rained. It's 35 degrees outside and raining. And my child's not at school. So I'm a bad parent. And I'm doing what my wife and I have actually never done. It took 4.5 years. The TV is our babysitter for the next hour. But I'll pop on Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas. Come get me if you need me. Otherwise, he's going to sit there glued to the TV. Probably won't blink for the next hour and 10 minutes.
Yes.
So while we do that, we learned some things over the past week. Probably didn't really need to learn it. The SEC, greater than the ACC. We probably knew that, but we got entertaining games nonetheless out of it. Where do you want to start? South Carolina, Louisville?
Yeah, let's start there. I feel like that's the highlight for sure.
At least of last night. Yeah. What were your takeaways from that?
I mean, I think most of my takeaways on the Louisville side that I thought it was just an impressive showing from the Cardinals. I mean, I don't know that anyone really expected them to hang with South Carolina down to the wire. I thought they got great production from their bench, 34 bench points. I thought it was just a really strong showing from Louisville, kind of showing that they can hang with some of the top teams in the country.
Yeah, Taj Roberts seems to be kind of making that sophomore growth, and she appears to be one of the leaders of this team. Ihsan Balolu was just a monster last night. And then, you hear about the talent of Amari Berry. You saw some of it last night. And then, Raina Scott tied a career high. It looked like a game where Louisville, who obviously recent years, like this group hasn't won a whole lot, went up against a team that just knows how to win. And that was probably the difference down the stretch. In particular, like Raven Johnson, she's won a national championship, been to a bunch of Final Fours, yada, yada, yada. It seems like that experience almost took over down the stretch.
Yeah, you're talking about a South Carolina team, even though it looks a lot different than even last year's South Carolina team, it still has pieces that have, like you said, been in those big moments, the Final Fours, the national championship games. They know how to compete in those situations and what needs to get done down the stretch to win a game. And that's enough for them to come out on top in this one.
So South Carolina, there's a couple of ways to look at it, right? Because they lost to Texas on the ropes last night at Louisville. I don't think many people had that on their bingo cards when they saw that matchup, even though it was a ranked unranked. On the one hand, it's like, all right, they look vulnerable. On the other hand, they're a couple of missed layups away from being 9-0.
Agreed. I'm not worried about them. I think it feels just like a team that's searching for its identity a little bit. Like, this is not the South Carolina team that we've had the last couple of years, and it seems like they're still finding their footing a little bit still. Like, obviously, Raven Johnson has been good. Tessa Johnson has been good. Medita Okot has been fantastic for them, but they're not quite getting that production from the bench. We've seen in the past, at least not in these big games. I know they've gotten it in others, but the Texas game, this game, USC, we haven't seen a lot from the bench. It's just a team that I feel like I don't exactly know what their identity is yet.
I mean, it's just weird not seeing depth. They're just so reliant on the starting five. Welcome to how the other half generally lives. How do you change things? Like the third quarter last night or the fourth quarter, Louisville went on a run, had a momentum. Historically, South Carolina just goes, all right, 1, 2, 3, go in the game, change it. They don't have that right now. They got 2 bench points versus Texas. South Carolina doesn't score 2 bench points.
Yeah,
like that's not their MO. And right now it is. And I get it. They have a couple of injuries. I mean, I say all this. They're, again, if they make a couple more layups against Texas, they're 9-0 and the number 2, maybe number 1 team in the country. And it is also weird. I'm getting Haley Van Lith vibes from Tanaya Latson. Not quite square peg, round hole, like oval peg, round hole. I'm not sure this wholly fits.
Yeah, I think it's always been an interesting fit of a transfer of like, how does a player that scored at the level that she scored at Florida State fit into a system under Dawn Staley that it is just a share the basketball system, and like there's typically not someone that's putting up the number of shots that Latson's used to putting up. And I think we're seeing that there's a little bit of friction in there and just her getting adjusted to it, an entirely new type of basketball, and it's not exactly the right fit. And that's so much of transfers, right? Is like it's the talent, but then it's also the fit. And if you don't have both, it just doesn't always pan out the same way that you kind of think it will when you hear the big flashy name that's making the move.
Yeah, I mean, she hasn't been bad. Don't get me wrong. It just she hasn't transformed their backcourt. Just like I think people like to I don't know make fun or think that the Van Lith era was a disaster. The year in Baton Rouge, like it wasn't mind blowing. That's all.
Right.
That's the vibes I get from this. Medina Ocote, meanwhile, she has been just phenomenal. She's their most important transfer, easily
Agreed.
with her and Edwards. No other real takeaways I had from that. Nice job by South Carolina for finding a way to grind through and win that game. Texas, meanwhile, just keep on humming. Nice win over UNC after a slow start.
Yeah, this Texas team just feels like they are clicking right now. They obviously, I mean, we didn't talk about Players Era because we were off last week, but like won the Players Era tournament, get a win over at UNC. Like every test that they've had so far, they've passed it with flying colors. And I feel like for me, a big part of that, I think, is just like Jordan Lee has been so good for them. And I feel like that's kind of the third option they weren't always getting something consistent from last year. And she was good down the stretch for them in the tournament last year. But I think she's just been such a consistent threat. She's been able to score from three, and that's just changed the offense for Texas a little bit here going into the season.
And it's scary to think that they still have, like, Brianna Preston is injured, Crump is injured. So they only played 7 players last night. And to think that there's another potential level there. Because I know they made the Final Four last year. They look, I think, solidly better than last year. Not like 1 or 2%, like maybe like 10% better.
Yeah, I feel like last year, even though they made the Final Four all going into March in the SEC tournament and the tournament play, it was like, can this team really score enough to get there? Like, do they have what it takes to get there? Like, I'm not feeling that way about this team. I think we're seeing them that they can score enough. The defense is still really good, but they have the offensive weapons to keep up with the South Carolinas, with the UCLAs, and it's clear that they've taken a step forward from last season.
Yeah, and the numbers don't necessarily back up what I'm about to say, because even with last night, they are still 338th nationally in three-pointers attempted and 361st nationally in percentage of points that come from three. But it feels like they're better from three. And maybe just that feeling that defenses, all right, have to at least like pretend to respect that. I think that's enough. Just even having Lee out there, I think, is enough to just do enough for everyone else to just kind of, the paint isn't so clogged. They have to just acknowledge that, hey, Texas might shoot the ball from beyond 12 feet. The other part, I think, Rory Harmon last year came back really, really quickly from an ACL tear, right? I'm not sure she was ever fully her true self last year. Not to say she wasn't healthy or playing hurt, but like whether it's lingering pain or a mental thing or just the rust from missing a year, felt like there was like meat on that bone, right? Well, now it looks like she's back to her All-American type self.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a big part of this too, is that, I mean, those injuries, there's such a long time off. They can just change the way you have to play a lot. So it's a big shift, and getting back takes time. And I think we've seen it with a lot of players, and it can take up to a year. It can take months of them being back on the court for it really to look like themselves. I mean, even if you think about like a Easy Fudd that came back last year for UConn, and she played well throughout the season, but it felt like it wasn't really until the tournament that she kind of really turned back into that player that everyone knew that AZ Fudd could be. It just takes time, and I think you're seeing that now that Rory has had that time, that she's kind of back at that level that everyone knows she can play at.
Maybe I shouldn't say this on the other side about a top 12 team with multiple fairly significant losses, but maybe the bar should be higher. I'm impressed by North Carolina. Like they don't have the horses this year. They're not going to keep up with Texas. They're not going to keep up with UCLA, the 2 losses. They don't have the talent yet. It appears to be coming next year. so that lowers their ceiling. But like it seems like it's kind of coming together. And remember, they only have 2 seniors. For that matter, I think they only have a couple of juniors. Like I'll buy whatever North Carolina stock people are selling.
I agree. I mean, they hung around with Texas in the first half here. They don't, like you said, kind of have the big names this year. The roster is not flashy, but they are like quietly doing pretty well in these games. Like I know they lost by like 20 points or something close to that here, but it's like they're not at least totally uncompetitive with these top teams, and you can see the vision and they're making strides, right? They still scored 64 against a really good Texas defense. Like there's plenty of times when we've been like, can North Carolina even put up 50 in these types of games? So the strides are there, even if it's, maybe a year out from really being kind of that next level. I think they're making progress.
And they might be the best team in the ACC, which admittedly, that's not the highest bar in the world to clear, but this is absolutely good enough to win the ACC. Absolutely.
Yeah, agreed. They might be the best team in the ACC. I don't know that says all that much. We'll get to it later, but yeah, the ACC isn't necessarily impressing anyone right now, but I do think that they have enough there to compete with everyone in the ACC and certainly could come up on top of that conference.
One of those teams who, what do you take? What do you take on Notre Dame? I don't want to say disappointing because maybe this is kind of what we expected. But they had a big first half last night against Ole Miss. Ole Miss erases that deficit, ultimately wins. Hannah Hidalgo got ejected in the final seconds. A little trash talk. I think it was a little overblown. What are your thoughts on Notre Dame now that since the last time we spoke, we were talking, all right, they play USC tomorrow. They just lost by 40 to Michigan. This could go a lot of different ways. I don't feel like either extreme was reached. Like obviously their season's not over. They had a great win against USC, but also they're not clearly what they were the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to Hannah Hidalgo pretty much. It's like this team is as good or as going to go as far as she can carry them. And when a team like Michigan finds a way to slow her down and have her have an off night, then it's going to look really, really rough out there because there's just maybe not enough firepower around her to do enough against any of these kind of top teams. But she's so good in her own right that like if she's going off for 28 points or 30 points or whatever it is, like that gives this team a lot more to work on and to work with and hang around. So it really feels it's like the Hannah Hidalgo show at Notre Dame this year.
I mean, it is. Yeah, we knew that. Vanessa DeJesus, 7 points, 2 of 9. Kassan Prosper, KK Bransford combined for 4 points last night. Malaya Cowles had a dozen off the bench. She had a nice game. But her and Hidalgo combined for 2/3 of their points. There's a very clear ceiling to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And there's no front court of which to speak of, which suited them well because USC doesn't have a great front court. But like last night, like Ole Miss early on, I was ready to bury Ole Miss at halftime. Like you're getting hammered on the glass early by Notre Dame. I like that they're shooting more threes. They shot, I thought, a few too many, but I like that they at least do what they did a couple of years ago, very Texas-like. Then I think they realized, oh, we're a lot bigger and have a better front court than Notre Dame. Let's take advantage of that. And then 26-11 rebounding in the second half. So I'm not ready to bury Ole Miss. I'm still not hugely impressed. Like I don't think they're the 13th best team in the country, but that was certainly a nice response at home when it looked like they were going to get run off their own floor in the first half.
Yeah, agreed. It was kind of the first real test for them, right? So at least they passed this one, like we've kind of alluded to. I don't know how much you learn about them beating Notre Dame in a close win. Like Notre Dame is not a top 13 team. So does that tell me that Ole Miss is a top 13 team? I don't know. But I think at least, the first kind of real test they've had, they're able to get the win. And then I'm interested to see as they get more into things here, like what does this team really look like against other top competition?
Yeah, this is a good measuring stick for hosting. Mm-hmm. I think for both of these teams. I mean, Ole Miss is obviously going to get a billion quad 1, quad 2 chances to bolster that resume. We'll talk about it in a little bit. Notre Dame may not have that many more. Most of the ACC may not have that many more. Once we get into conference play, it's hard to move up considerably in the net. But yeah, nice win for Ole Miss, who are still. I wonder if this is kind of a turning point of even in some of these, like, nice win over George Mason, but again, needed overtime at Memphis, who won 7 games last year. Held off a Big Ten bottom feeder in Wisconsin by single digits, like not the most impressive thing in the world. But as it comes together, you wonder if there was kind of a turning point of something clicked. Cody McMahon was 10 of 20, had 22 points. Awala had 18 and 13 last night. Can it, as they go into SEC play, like as you expect, a team with 8 newcomers, can it all gel at the right time? And there are good early signs for Ole Miss. I don't like my show today. I'm very discombobulated. That's okay. LSU and Duke, the last game from last night. I hear my kid giggling, though, so all is well downstairs. LSU Duke. We'll start with the LSU side. We buried Duke a couple weeks ago. Finally, a chance to see LSU against, a team with a pulse, respectfully. 331st non-conference schedule before then, out of 363 teams. Prove that they have a lot of weapons and they can score against anyone, which we probably knew. We just actually had evidence to see it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've seen this team put up 100 points against all of those other teams that they played that no one knows who they are, but it is, I think, good to see it happen against a team like Duke, regardless of where Duke kind of stands right now and the fact that they're not the team that everyone thought that Duke was going to be. I still think seeing 93 points go up against a team of that caliber shows that they can score in a lot of different ways. And they scored 93 points despite having 18 turnovers. I think that's even possibly more impressive. Well, the turnover number itself is not impressive, but to be able to get to 93 despite that, I think is impressive. And they're able to get a lot from their bench too. I think that showed through in the game as well. Lively, obviously. Kit Cavell had a good game. Their freshman Grace Knox scored a bunch for them off the bench. So it was a strong performance all around. Though, like you would like to see, they say they scored 93 points against the Duke defense, but I'm starting to question if Duke's defense is even any good at this point.
Yeah, I was most impressed that they scored 93 points and no one hit 20 in a game. They had 6 in double figures. Flaugier had 18 to lead the way, 16 for Full Wiley, 14 apiece for Williams and Joyner, 13 Koval, and 12 for Knox. Like, that's, again, you see balance when they're putting up 120 points on Coppin State or whomever, but to see it against, in theory, I still think it's a decent defense. Yeah. It just goes to show, which there's been a lot of discourse because LSU was number 1 in the net when it came out. And yes, we've seen this on the men's side too. If you beat quad 4 opponents by 70 points, that's a way to build your net ranking. Right or wrong, like it's a formula. That's one way to do it. But to see it come to fruition, yeah, I think we all knew LSU, despite the schedule, was one of the 5 best teams in the country. I think they very much proved that. I think Notre Dame could use Kate Koval, by the way. Very nice performance off the bench. The Duke side, yeah, I mean, their last 3 opponents were South Carolina, UCLA, and LSU. Like, you're not going to hold them all under 60 points. But I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you that their defense isn't good, which is disappointing because they've started to score. That's
they have started to score, so hopefully that means something's clicking there on the offensive end, because I think you're getting to a point, right, where we're heading into conference play and this team is 3-6 and they don't have a win that means much of anything at this point. They've got a couple more non-conference chances. Like, I think they got to get one of South Dakota State and Belmont. Like, you got to, I mean, those are not easy games, but you've got to win at least one of those. But this is just, like, they've played a really tough schedule.
Are we talking like not in the tournament?
I feel like there's like, it seems extreme right now, but like they've got to beat someone, and the ACC chances, there's not going to be a ton. I think they probably make it, but like you've got 3 wins heading into conference play. That's pretty rough.
Sure, going for Duke is the toughest strength of schedule in the country. Like, none of these losses are bad. Like, even at South Florida, I know the West Virginia one, it looks bad because of how it happened against West Virginia's reserves for a second half. But like on its head, it's a loss to Baylor's fine, a loss to West Virginia's fine, a loss at South Florida's okay, and then South Carolina, UCLA, LSU. The problem is just all of them are losses.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're starting to get to a point
see them
where, like, No, I can't either. But like they're putting a lot of pressure on themselves. I think in conference play that you've got to you've got to win some of the Louisvilles, the UNCs, like the NC State games. Like you have to win some of those to get
Fair enough. Look at me trying to defend Duke. I
it.
think
I don't
okay,
think they end up missing the tournament, but I just think it's like something to keep an eye on to be going in with 3 wins, none of which are remotely notable.
Holy Cross, Norfolk State, and Liberty. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Great game Wednesday. Oklahoma, NC State. The Elia Chavez official coming out party for OU. That was quite the win for the Sooners. Come from behind fashion.
Yeah, absolutely. I think great win for Oklahoma. 33 points for Elia Chavez. I think we're just starting to see. I'm always the freshman. It takes maybe a few games to really get it going, and it hasn't taken that many for her. But I just think a huge performance from her. And Oklahoma only had 9 turnovers, which is a really positive sign as well.
Yes.
I
I mean,
love
the
to see
defense.
that.
Yeah, we know their defense is okay. Like they have so many
Mhm.
possessions, it'll be inflated a little bit, but it's not an elite defense. But you know what? It's the 9 turnovers. That's all I've wanted for a year and a half. They turned it over 20 times just once in a game this year, all year. And it was oddly enough against East Texas A&M. Now, if the freshman is running things, you have a bona fide star in the backcourt with her. You have a bona fide star in the front court in Reagan Beers. You're asking now Peyton Verhulst to be more of a secondary, tertiary option. We're onto something here. I think this team's really, really good. Really good.
Agreed.
Am I crazy?
I think the depth. No, I agree. I think the depth is still a little questionable, but I think they're really, really good. And like you said, they've kind of got that backcourt front court duo going now, which I think is maybe what they need here to keep getting going. The only thing out of this game that concerned me was that they got out rebounded by NC State, but NC State also a team with a fair amount of size, so not the end of the world necessarily.
I mean, they have Camille Pierre, who's like she's
20 rebounds. It's insane. Yeah.
Yes, she kind of has a Angel Reese type rebounding motor, where it doesn't matter if she's not the biggest out there. Like, she's gonna find a way to get the basketball, even if she's hurt, which she appeared to play injured for a good chunk of Wednesday's game. What do you make of NC State? I have no idea what to make of them. Like on the one hand, bad loss to Rhode Island. A10's a good league. Still, that's not a great loss. Unless they basically lose once or twice the rest of the way, which doesn't seem realistic. Like they're probably already out of the running to host. On the other hand, they're up 10 at Oklahoma. They led USC most of that game. They're absolutely talented. I don't know. They look like a top 10 team some days. Other days, they look like the middle of the pack ACC team.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that loss to Rhode Island is the most confusing thing on their resume because otherwise they've played a lot of tough games, and whether they've won them or not, they've been able to hang around with any team in the country in those games. And I think that says a lot, even if you're not getting the win. Like, yes, you eventually need to get the wins, but to be able to hang around with the USC, to hang around with an Oklahoma, I think that says a lot. But the loss to Rhode Island is puzzling and kind of shows that there is like a floor in there that it is maybe lower than everyone thought. And like you said, Rhode Island, like A10 is a good lead, but Rhode Island is not a team that I would have expected NC State to lose to, especially on their home floor.
I mean, with that very tough schedule and a win over Tennessee in there, they are 38th in the net as of this morning. And there's only a couple ACC teams above them. Like, you need to be what, top 25 to have a shot to host, probably
Somewhere in there. Yeah.
Unless, again, I don't really know how the net maths, but unless they like completely run the table in the ACC and go, 16-1 or whatever it is the rest of the way, which then the numbers would probably work in their favor. But even if they didn't, that's just an impressive enough run. But yeah, NC State might be going on the road in March. They have no depth. 4 players scored 88 of their 98 points on Wednesday. Those 4 all average double figures. So watch that. Trieger, Pierre, Brooks, and Zam Jones. No one else on the team even averages 5 points a game. That's not really sustainable, I don't think. If you're asking the same 4 players, you need to play well every single game. Otherwise, we will lose to Rhode Island.
Yeah, I think that's what makes that Rhode Island loss so concerning is like you're hoping that you can rely on those 4 in these big games. but that you can get enough production from everyone else that those four are not playing 35 minutes a game against the bottom half of the ACC. And the Rhode Island loss, I think, suggests that that is not necessarily going to be the case.
Yeah, so it's weird. I said in the preseason NC State I don't think was as good as their ranking, and well, turns out I was right, but not for the right reasons. So I was right, but I wasn't right. But I'll take it. Another team in the ACC who I think is actually better than. I mean, I've been very low on Stanford for a year and a half now or so. Lost to Tennessee. I still think there's something here with the Cardinal that gives me reason for hope, especially with these freshmen, Shamfai and Swain.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, yes, they lost to Tennessee, and I don't think Tennessee played its best game, but they still hung around. And it does feel like there's something there. And it kind of just feels like the ACC is a little bit open right now. Like there's a chance for a team like Stanford to like get a couple teams on an off night and find themselves in the top part of the league. I don't know. Like there's no one in the ACC that is like maybe North Carolina, but it's like screaming like we're gonna go win this league. And I just could see a situation where a lot of these teams like beat up on each other and someone sneaks in and starts to make a run to be in that top group as well.
I'm curious to see where it goes. Do I think Stanford's a top 25 team? Probably not. But there's something here with the freshmen, and Nuno Aguirre is only a junior. They have Cal, Washington, Oregon, Cornell, NC State, North Carolina in the next 6 games. We're going to learn a lot. I'm curious to see how that goes based on how on Wednesday, where if they don't turn it over 30 times, they probably beat Tennessee. So yeah, I'll throw Stanford right into the mix of who's good in the ACC. Let's jumble it up and pull someone out, and sure, on that particular day, they're good. Which is a step forward. Like they're far better than last year.
Yeah,
which might
they look like a tournament team. Yeah.
Yes. Which, I mean, it's well established, not a secret. I very much questioned that going into this year, based on what I saw last year and just the landscape that they now have to navigate being in the ACC. Still, ultimately, did lose on Wednesday. What do you make of Tennessee? Kind of like NC State, I don't really know what to make of the Lady Vols. Still, that's a quad one win.
It is a quad one win. I don't know. I don't know what to make of them. I think it feels like the 3-point shooting feels like it's even worse than last year. It's like they're still so reliant on it, but it's so inconsistent. You can think they're shooting 28% from 3 on the season, and that's
bad.
Not great. It's bad. It's bad. Yeah, it's bad. It is especially bad when you're taking 42% of your shots from there. Like it's a really high volume with not a lot of success. They shot 19% from 3 against Stanford, and like they still got the win. But I don't know. It feels like this is a team that if they shoot the ball well from 3, they could probably beat anyone. Like, could they go beat a South Carolina because they shoot 50% from 3 one day? Sure, but like it just doesn't feel like we're going to see that all that often. The shooting has just not been there.
This is a team that needs a very specific amount of things to go right to win, and that does not predicate itself to winning 6 games in a row in March. They need to wreak havoc on defense because, frankly, if they don't, their defense isn't very good. UCLA committed 12 turnovers, scored 99 points. NC State committed 10 turnovers, scored 80 points. Everyone else, they turned the ball over a bunch, and Tennessee found a way to win, whether it's against good teams or bad teams. They shoot, like you mentioned, they attempt the seventh most threes in the country, and they can't make them. So on a game-by-game basis, can they beat South Carolina, like you just said? Absolutely. If they randomly shoot, go 14 of 29 from 3 in a game. They're not doing that. 4 consecutive games in the Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four, National Championship. At least as built right now. So I'm disappointed in Tennessee. I thought they'd look better. I will say Talaysia Cooper, I think, is one of the probably 10 best players in the country. I think she's great. They're not good enough shooters and that's all they do. They just, what do you say, 42% of their shots?
Yeah, 42% of their scoring attempts. Yep.
You got to start making some.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're not making shots and you're not forcing turnovers, they're going to lose. So they could beat anyone on the right night. They could lose to a lot of teams, I think, on a given night. But the answer probably lies somewhere in the middle, and that's fine for now. Anything else from ACC, SEC challenge? A lot of the SEC dominated overall. Vandy win, Kentucky win at Miami. What else? Syracuse beat Auburn in overtime. Georgia's 10-0. Florida State.
Yikes.
Stuff. I mean, you knew they were going to take a step back, right? They lost their top 3 scorers who all scored 1 billion points, but yeah, it's a tough look to lose by 20 at home to an improved Georgia team, but yeah, tough year in Tallahassee. Other note that surprised me on Monday, your Villanova Wildcats, Megan. How about them going to Morgantown and routing West Virginia? Not just winning handily.
I know, back-to-back shows that we get to talk about something good from the Big East that doesn't have to do with UConn, so that's very exciting.
Johnny's lost to Creighton at home last night. That's not great.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But the positives, Villanova.
Positives, yeah, Villanova. I mean, yeah, I thought an impressive win. You had a West Virginia team that was in the top 25, and Villanova just made it look easy, which is saying a lot. I don't know. Like it feels like it came out of nowhere. I mean, this Nova team hasn't been bad by any standard. Like they lost to Fairfield, but like Fairfield's really good. Did they lose to one of the Ivy League teams? I'm forgetting who, but like they've been.
I have it up. Stand by. Princeton.
Like Princeton, yeah. So they're not bad losses, right? Like those 2 losses are teams that we're talking about being at large caliber teams that like could make the tournament if they don't win their conference tournament. So they're good. But then I was just really impressed with like against Villanova. I think we knew that Jasmine Bosco was really good for Villanova, but then it was also Bryn McCurry and Kennedy Henry against West Virginia, and they're just showing a little bit more depth than I thought they had.
West Virginia didn't lose at home last year. They were undefeated. That's an impressive victory to walk into the Coliseum and win by 23. And the game really wasn't ever close. They led by 11 after 1 quarter, and I don't want to say put it in cruise control, but handled that game for full 40 minutes. That's an impressive victory as I've seen from a non-ranked team all year. It should bolster their net because God knows the Big East needs as much help as they can get in the net. Yes. So Villanova is 26th in the net with a couple of quad 1. Excellent start, which takes us to the net rankings are out. We don't need to break it down like, 1 through whatever. We mentioned LSU. They're now 2. They've gamed the system a little bit, did pick up. Last night was a quad 1 win, right? Had to have been.
Well, actually,
quad 2 win.
Yeah.
Quad 2 win. Still. LSU played someone. They're still second. There's a lot of chatter about adjusting the net. Remember, on the women's side, a road game right now is a quad 1 game if it's anywhere from 1st to 45th in the net. Men's basketball is 1st to 75th. I've seen Seton Hall coach Tony Bozzella. He's led the charge of it's not fair to the mid-majors, which he's not wrong. Team like Princeton, which needs all the quad 1 opportunities they can get. Well, games that be quad 1 on the men's side or quad 2 or on the women's side, or a quad 2 game becomes a quad 3, whatever. I'll ask you, you're the bracketologist. This is your world. Does the net system need changing?
The quads is one thing. I feel like the net is what it is. Like it's a ranking. It matters in that, like it kind of like if you're 80th in the net, you're not going to make the tournament as an at-large. But like being first in the net doesn't mean anything. It doesn't guarantee you a number 1 seed. So I know people get hung up on rankings, but like ultimately it doesn't mean all that much other than like a way to try to rank these teams and kind of create a grouping of who are the top, call it 60 teams in the country. The quad system, though, I think is an interesting question because it's a really tight window of what becomes a quad 1 win. And I don't know the details of how they decided those thresholds on the women's game, but I'm guessing it had to do with a lot of research and looking at how things have shaken out in the past. But it is tough for the mid-majors, and I think that's frustrating because it's hard to get in when you don't have a quad 1 win to point to. And it's really hard to schedule those opportunities because you're talking about teams. A lot of teams in that group don't want to play the mid-major teams that are of that caliber because it's a risk of a loss at home. And you just don't want that. To say like whether it should change or not, I don't know. I think we just have to, like, it's more about how you look at it than like you can put whatever numbers you want on a paper. It's about how the committee looks at it that I think is ultimately going to decide it.
Right. I understand the arguments of it's not it's very heavily weighted towards your power conferences,
Mhm.
right? My thing is if they move it and say it matched with the men. So road games, it's 1 through 75 are all quad 1 versus 1 through 45. They're just going to move the goalposts. Like
Right.
nothing in college sports is geared toward mid majors. It's not fair towards mid majors, whether it's college football or college basketball or baseball or pick your sport. Like they'll just move it from, well, Princeton only has one quad 1 win to, all right, Princeton has 3 quad 1 wins, but Mississippi State went from having 6 to having 10 because
Right.
we moved it. And they're just going to use like they're going to move the goalpost however it fits. I don't want to be, the hashtag narrative guy. Like
Mhm.
the SEC or the Big Ten team is going to get the benefit of the doubt, whatever the numbers say. That's
Yeah.
just what it is. So go ahead and change them because it's also going to change. Like it's not just going to change for Fairfield. It's also going to change for Virginia Tech or Minnesota or pick your bubble power team where their numbers will go up too. That's
Yeah,
so
and I
I
think
don't I don't
it's so important too that like the net and like those numbers and the quad one, quad two, quad three, quad four numbers are just like a small piece of it. Like just because one team has like three quad one wins, like there's so many other things that they're looking at, and like quad one wins aren't created equal either. Like just because like someone's win over South Carolina, Texas's win over South Carolina is gonna mean a whole lot more than if it was a if you beat the 75th team to get that quad one win. Like you're looking at the whole picture.
yeah. And I like what you said about rankings because all right, it's fun in games to talk about who's better, right? Like the heart of
Mhm.
sports debate. Tyler and Chelsea had a fun discussion earlier in the week. Who's better, UConn or Texas? But man, like if you're out on social media ridiculing people because they have one over the other, one, CCAP. Two, remember, our yearly reminder, the AP poll doesn't matter.
Literally means nothing.
Talia Goodman's rankings, I think she does great work. She's watches every game in the world. I don't know how she does it. Her rankings ultimately don't matter. So if you're getting angry at them, calm down. You
Touch
know
some
who's
grass.
really good at basketball, whether they have a 1 or a 2 next to their name? Texas.
Yeah,
You know who's really good if they have a 1 or a 2 next to their name? UConn. It's fine. I promise you. It'll get figured out in April. I promise.
exactly.
It's okay.
Yes,
Anyways.
that's why we play the game, so we can all find out who actually is number one in April.
Right. Like
Doesn't
Texas has a
matter who's
really,
number
really,
one
really
right
good
now.
resume. And if you put them number 1, it doesn't mean that person hates UConn. Or if UConn is still number 1 for you, it doesn't mean they hate Texas. It's okay. I promise.
Yes.
The world will continue.
It was not
The,
a
the
personal
sun didn't
attack.
come up here today. Yes. It's gonna rain. The sun will come out. The sun won't come out. It's gonna rain outside. It's not gonna snow. Whatever. The world will move on.
Yes.
All right. It's been a month. We have a decent resume for some of these teams, for pretty much all these teams. Give me a team that has surprised you in a good way 1 month into this season, and then we'll do bad in a second. But start with a team that surprised you in a good way through the first month.
We already talked about this a little bit, but Texas, I know we all knew that Texas was going to be one of the top 5 teams in the country, right? So it's not shocking that they are where they are, but I just think they made such a stride forward. It feels like we said earlier, from last year and going into the season, it just wasn't really clear to me if they had the pieces to do that. Like I didn't have a lot of confidence that they would be so much ahead of where they were last year, and they truly look like they are at this point.
Yeah, I like that. I'll stay in the Lone Star State. Texas Tech. I don't normally like giving power teams a whole lot of credit for beating up on cupcake schedules, but I like what I've seen from Texas Tech. They're 10-0, a lot of quad 4 wins, but they beat up on SMU, who SMU I think won last night with a decent win. I'm on the wrong day. SMU, yeah, they beat Arkansas. Bad look for Arkansas, but they handled rebuilding Arkansas. Most impressively, they beat Mississippi State one handily in some of these trap games like North Texas, Old Dominion, New Mexico. Those teams are capable of getting
Mhm.
lower mid-tier power conference teams. So yeah, Texas Tech 10-0 impressed me so far. Some of the Big 12 has been impressive thus far. Big 12, I know, feels like they get lost in the conversation a lot for whatever reason. I think they're pretty clearly a better league than the ACC. Am I crazy?
No, I don't think you're crazy. I mean, at least the top of it for sure is like I would take TCU, Iowa State over any team in the ACC easily.
All right, now this next one, you are not allowed to say Duke. A team that has surprised you in a bad way besides Duke.
I have two things. I have the ACC as a whole because I just like am generally not impressed with anyone in the ACC. But then also, I mean, we already kind of talked about this too. But Tennessee, I just like expected Tennessee to find a way to build on what they did last year, and it almost feels like they've taken a little bit of a step back.
Yeah, ACC. Are they looking at one host? Like once you get into conference play, the reason I'm asking this now on December 5th, once you get into conference play, your net is so focused on non-conference because it can move so much. Like once you get into conference play, it's hard to increase it too much for the most part. So UNC, Louisville, Stanford are top 25. Notre Dame, Virginia, despite a loss to UMBC, and then NC State are 30 or worse. And the net isn't everything. You clarified that. But like, are we looking at one host?
It kind of feels like that. I think it's going to depend how conference play shakes out. Like, how does that top group shake out? Is it one team that kind of comes out on top? Like, if UNC comes up on top, like, are they going to host? If it's more split, like maybe they get two in. Like, say it's UNC and Louisville. Like, if they're kind of jockeying for that top position, maybe they could sneak a second in. But it feels like it's going to be tough to kind of compete with. Like, the SEC just has so much depth at the top of that conference, and things like that. Like there's just other leagues that likely, given the strength of the conference, are going to get more teams in there. And it's going to be hard for the ACC with, especially not having like maybe like North Carolina kind of stays in that top 10, 15 group, and that kind of emerges as like a tougher opponent there. But like, I think it's going to be hard for some of these ACC teams to break into that conversation when they're just not going to have a lot of opportunities to get those kind of quality wins in conference play. And their quality wins, they're just not like, they're not a top 10 win.
Gotcha. I did forget a team that I was surprised in a good way. Nebraska. They're 8-0, quad 1, quad 2 win. Britt Prince, sophomore, she's really, really good. She was a 5-star last year, had a good freshman year, but 21 points a game, 65% shooting from a 5'11 guard. Doesn't take a ton of threes, but 12 of 22. Yeah, Amaya Hargrove, a massive sophomore leap, averages 11 and 7. Yeah, I like the Huskers. I think should be ranked. They're receiving votes, but yeah, I think they should be in the top 25. My bad surprise, I was with Tennessee, and then I don't know that bad is the right word for this, but Oklahoma State has probably met most people's expectations for this year. I thought they'd be better. Like they beat up a bunch of bad teams. They scored 100 plus in all of them. Went to St. John's and lost. Not an unforgivable loss. Came from behind to beat a tournament caliber team in Miami last week. Again, Canes are fine, but they played two top 100 teams. Didn't hold either below 70. Didn't look convincing to me either time. It's just someone I thought I predicted they'd finish above Iowa State in the Big 12. And to that point, they haven't. So I guess it's more of disappointed in myself than them. But I thought Oklahoma State would make a slightly larger leap than they have. They're not bad. I just thought they'd be a little better. Takes us to a preview. There's not a whole lot going on over the next week. There's like nothing tonight, like nothing at all. Tomorrow, if you're looking there's a couple of sneaky non-ranked mid-major games this weekend. We'll start with Belmont and Princeton. This is a test case for fixing the net, right? Two really good mid-major programs. This game is at Belmont. This is a quad 3 game for Princeton that they could very easily lose. Men's basketball will be a quad 2 game. And for Belmont, this is a Q2 game, but it's nearly a quad 1 game. So like that differentiator, because of where the numbers are, that matters. That Princeton is a spot away from a quad 1, where in the men's game, it would be a slam dunk quad 1. Either way, this is a really, really, really fun game.
Yeah, I think we're talking about two teams that like you wouldn't necessarily be surprised to be bubble conversation type teams getting into March. Like a big opportunity for both of these teams in terms of like this win will mean something on your resume. Yeah, it's not a Power 5 win, but even I mean like Belmont's a quad 3 right now. They could move up to a quad 2, like a chance to get a decent win under your belt in mid-major play. And this one should just be really fun. I feel like Princeton, actually, I didn't talk about them in a team that has surprised me in a good way, but I feel like it felt like it might be a step back for the Ivy a bit this year. And I think Princeton has still looked really, really good. And I kind of expect them to win this one, but I think this should be a fun one regardless.
Yeah, conference play is not quite here, but we have some outlier games this weekend in the Big Ten. Sunday, Oregon, UCLA. The Ducks are 10-0, a lot of quad four games, and then wins over Oregon State and then Auburn by 5. I really like Katie Fiso of Oregon. She's become the alpha of that team. Their best player is probably Elisa Mevius. She tore ACL in the first or second game, so she's out for the year. But a nice addition in Fresno State, transfer Mia Jacobs. I don't think they can hang with UCLA. 183rd in the country in rebounding. That's not going to fly against UCLA, but means, and they don't really rebound the ball offensively. So that means they're going to have to make their first shot, and because they're not going to get a second. But I am interested to see how good Oregon is, because there's a lot of Big Ten teams that are right there, tournament caliber, 7 through bubble teams, and Oregon's certainly in there. I want to see where on the measuring stick they are. And then what do you make of UCLA? They got run out of the gym by Texas until they go on that run, and it looks like they might win the thing, ultimately lose. I still think UCLA might have the most talent in the country. My big question, I guess, more so is Lauren Betts has looked fine, which isn't really what I'm looking for, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think two things with UCLA. Like, I'm excited to see them when they actually get healthy because they're still missing so much of that depth that they're supposed to have. So I think it'll be interesting to see. I don't know when Sienna Betts or Gardner are supposed to be back, but when they do get back, I'm interested to see if this team looks different. But then, yeah, Lauren Betts, right? You expected. I mean, she was so good last year. You expected her to take another step and really be like challenging for that National Player of the Year conversation, and I'm not really feeling that with how she's played so far. Like, she's been good. There's no question about that. She's been very good, but like she's not. I don't
Like
know.
you're looking like slam dunk, like
Right,
first team All American, National Player of the Year, front runner
right,
or candidate at least, top 2, 3 WNBA draft pick.
right.
All those things might still happen. It just doesn't look. It's almost like how UCLA looked 2 years ago. Of like they look fine, but should
Mhm.
they look more than fine?
Yeah, yeah, and I think maybe some of it's just the lack of depth. Like, they really are playing with kind of the starting five right now. Like, there's just not a lot of depth happening there. So I'm interested to see what happens when they can kind of rotate things a little bit more and get a little bit more from folks. But yeah, it's just they haven't jumped off the page in the way that maybe this team should, because it feels like once they get their pieces back, like this should be a team that like everyone is considering one of the favorites to win a national title, and it just kind of feels like they're not quite there right now.
I wouldn't go that far. I still okay. What
I
was the
mean, I
final
still think they
number
can win
of?
a national title. I just think they need to get a
Oh
little
yeah,
healthy. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. And then I am. It looks like Charlize Ledger Walker is healthy and the rust has come off. She's
yeah.
really come into her own. At least 5 assists in every game except for the Texas game. She had 20 points against Duke. She only had 7 against Tennessee on Sunday with 11 assists to 1 turnover and 4 steals. I really, really like that addition to that team. And it takes some of the load off of Kiki Rice, who can play off the ball more. Yeah, I mean, I know it seemed like I didn't mean to start the conversation. It sounds like what's wrong with UCLA. I was just curious
Right.
your take, because I still think they're really,
I still,
really good. And
yeah.
they had an off half against Texas, and that ultimately cost them in one game.
I I agree. I still think they're really, really good. I just want them to get healthy. I feel like it's so hard to make much of them right now because it's like, okay, this is not what UCLA is going to look like in March, or at least hopefully not what it's going to look like in March. So yeah, I'm hoping that we start to see some of those pieces come back soon, so that you can really start to see what this looks like.
Yeah, I think it's established. UCLA is still the class of the Big Ten. Michigan and
Yeah.
Maryland, I think, are pretty firmly second and third on that list. 2 teams maybe next up will play Sunday, Washington and USC. I'm fascinated because USC, they've looked awfully young at times. They've looked awfully talented at times. And then Washington hasn't really been tested yet. So it's a measuring stick of, all right, how real are the Huskies? I think they're for real, for real. We'll find out Sunday. I'm very much looking forward to this matchup.
Yeah, I think this one should be really fun. And Washington, the team that I think we were both really excited about in the preseason, but when they just play all these like Q4 type games. It's really hard to glean anything about is this team actually good or not. So excited to see them start to get in Big Ten play here, and USC is a great first test, but it'll just be interesting to kind of see what does this actually look like when we are putting it up against tournament level competition.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll guard each other, but Jazzy Davidson and Savia Sellers, sign me up. Avery Howell's looked really, really good. Her first game against her former team. And they have a freshman off the bench and Bryn McGoy that you look up, and she's in double figures every single game. And then they have their second best player coming into the year, Washington, El Ladine. She's only played a couple of games. She was hurt to start the year. So as she rounds back into form, yeah, I'm really looking forward to, because that like I think top 4 gets a double bye in the Big Ten tournament. Like that 4-5 area, that's very much up for grabs. And I'm not too far away from saying like, all right, Washington or USC or maybe both. They're closer to the Michigan Maryland category than they are Minnesota.
Yeah.
Speaking of Minnesota, we'll find out how real they are. They play Maryland. Terps are legit.
Yeah,
Terps are legit.
Yeah, for sure.
Win at Kentucky. Very, very impressed. Yeah, I mean, we said a couple weeks ago we just needed to see with Maryland. I'm all in.
Yeah, no, they look really good.
And then, I mean, you're going to be locked in. I don't know what your plans are Sunday in London, Megan. I know what you're going to be doing.
This game is probably at like 3 a.m. or something. I haven't even looked at what time yet.
you know what game I'm talking about. I didn't even say it. Maggie Dugan against Megan Anderson, Richmond and Fairfield. This is your Sistine Chapel. This is at 7:00 London time, Sunday night.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Get a nice early dinner.
Where I
don't know how ESPN Plus works. I don't know how ESPN Plus works in England, but just a nice dinner, come back, maybe a drink, come back and just settle in for some Spiders and Stags.
Yes. I might have to figure out how to tape it because I'm not confident that is one that I'm going to be able to find a way to watch outside of the country. It's a lot easier when it's like UCLA Duke, like someone's streaming it on YouTube. These other things are a little more difficult.
Yeah. All American watch with Maggie Dugan. 23.5 points, 10 boards, 5 assists per game. Turns it over an awful lot. Just cut down on it. And my preseason hot take, or my week 2 hot take, is in decent shape. Dugan and Anderson, I feel like they probably cancel each other out a little bit. This might come down to, I don't want to call Katie Lamoureux a secondary piece, but the Anderson's the more well-known commodity. But if Rachel Olstrom and Allie Sweeney can outscore Katie Lamoureux, or can Fairfield get big efforts from Christina Pham, Janelle Brown, like some of these secondary pieces, that's probably the big key. And what does the win do for either of these teams? We've seen Fairfield play a lot of good teams, haven't won too many of these games. And then Richmond has that, they probably have a higher caliber of competition for their overall schedule. But we haven't really, they played someone since they played Texas. I don't remember who offhand.
Yeah, I don't remember who, but they didn't win.
TCU.
Yeah.
And then they beat Columbia. So they both have, they've had name brand opportunities, but this feels like, one of the last ditch efforts that they're going to get before they get into the thick of league play.
Yeah, agreed. And I think for Richmond, like, it's just a scheduling challenge, right? When you're that good, no one wants to play you. So they get these like very top 10 teams, which are going to be really hard to beat. And then it's really hard to get, like, there's teams they absolutely could get in the Power 5. They just, no one wants to schedule them. But yeah, it's a great opportunity for both of these teams in terms of finding opportunities to add just another win to your resume that will mean something come March. I think a win over Fairfield is going to mean something. A win over Richmond is going to mean something. Like you said, Richmond is going to have opportunities in the A10, like a George Mason Wume, Duquesne win. Like there's going to be good wins to get in A10 play. That's not really the case for Fairfield, so I feel like there's almost a little bit more on the line for Fairfield here if they want to be an at-large team. To getting a win over Richmond would be huge for Fairfield. At the same time, for a Richmond, I think getting this win, you've got the Columbia win, it just starts to take some of that pressure off in the A10 tournament that you have to win it to get in.
And that takes us to, there's not a whole lot going on next week. The only real notable game, barring an upset, Iowa State on Wednesday. Give me your thoughts on this, because I'm a curmudgeonly grump, and I have thoughts on Iowa State that probably don't jive with what everyone else feels. But I want your thoughts first.
I feel like we haven't seen Iowa State play anyone, so it's so hard to say. Like, they look good against who they've played, but have they really made the strides from last year? Like, I don't know for sure. So I think this is just going to be a good barometer game in terms of, like, Iowa. I think we know is a pretty good team. Like, they played some folks. They had a nice win over Fairfield last week. I think that was last week. I don't know. I'm starting to get my days all mixed up because I'm not on a normal schedule. But so I think we get to see, like, is Iowa State the real deal in this game? And that's what I'm looking to see.
I'm not sold on them. I'm not. I've been a big fan of Audie Crooks. Last year, I predicted on our season premiere show she'd be a first-team All-American. That's certainly trending that way this year. The numbers she's putting up are ridiculous. Leads the nation in scoring. Has broken the program record twice this year for single-game points. They're 9-0 with 7 quad 4 wins, a quad 3 win, and then the Indiana game was really, really exciting. They gave up 95 points to an IU team that only reached 80 twice, and those were against Lipscomb and Florida Gulf Coast. I'm not convinced they're any better defensively, and that'll ultimately, I think, be their undoing.
Yeah.
They played 2 top 100 teams, Marquette and Indiana. They both scored over 70. All this is fine and well if they want to be a team that competes for a Big 12 title, possibly host the first 2 rounds. That's not going to get you to Phoenix, and that's my overarching thought when I see this team is, this is great. They're going to run into someone like a TCU who can stop Audie Crooks, and then what?
Yeah.
And that's probably a bad, a negative way of looking at it. That's just, I'm a grump. What can I say?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this wasn't a team on my, like, can they even get to Phoenix radar? Like, I'm looking at, can they just, like, be better than they were last year? Because remember last year, this time we were like, is this team even going to make the tournament? So, like, I think they're
much better than last year. Much better. Last year, I put a moratorium on them for like 3 months. I said, we're done. We're done.
Yes.
We're not there yet. No, they're
so
good.
They've made strides there, but I want to see how much strides against a team like Iowa. Like, can they hang around with someone in the, top 20, top 25 type of range? Because we haven't really seen them play that yet.
Yeah. So that's really, we're in that time of year where there are exams. So there's just not a whole lot going on. So that takes us to the end of the show, where 3rd week in a row, we're going to draft some all-time teams. This week, South Bend, the Irish. If you're unfamiliar, Megan and I are each going to draft 12 players, 5 starters and a reserve. We'll go back and forth. You tell us who has a better team. We're going to post this on social, on X, at CS Now Tweets, at our Hoop Stats. I try to get it on Instagram. I don't have Instagram. My wife does. I don't. I have a buddy who, his thing is brackets. He loves brackets. He has a little following on social media with brackets. I texted him, how on earth do I make a Twitter poll or an Instagram poll? I didn't know how to make a story. I had to download the app. You can't do it on the desktop. It's a whole thing. So I worked very, very hard to get the LSU one on Instagram. And I will do the same for Notre Dame. So I love a God vote, because I wanted to throw my phone through a wall. Anyways, this week, Notre Dame. I'm largely unprepared. However, how do you share on here? How do you share a screen on this? Clearly, I'm great with technology, folks. I'm complaining about Instagram, which has been around for 15 years. Hey, we're thriving. We are thriving. All right, Megan.
All righty.
You want heads or tails?
I'll take heads.
Heads. All right. Megan, you win. You get to go first. Who are you drafting from the Notre Dame Fighting Irish?
I actually feel like this is one where, like, you could probably argue a lot of different ways. Like, there's not a clear cut, but I'm going to take Jewel Lloyd first.
Wow. I like it. I was going to try to, steal Lloyd late. Jeez. Yeah, I mean, 1,900 points in 3 years, the number 1 pick, 2-time All-American. Yeah. Wow. Out of left field. Give me, then I'll take Arike Ogunbowale, all-time leader in points, Final Four most outstanding player. You know what she did in that Final Four in both games. I'll take Arike.
Yeah. You have 3 too, right?
Oh,
2 picks.
I'm glad you know the format, Megan. Versus the one that I made myself. Then give me Skylar. 3-time All-American, 2-time Big East Player of the Year, 2,300 points. Yeah, give me Skylar.
All right. 4, I'm going to take Jackie Young. I will die on the hill that she was the best player on that national championship team. I know Enrique made the big shots, but I think Jackie Young was the best player on the team. I don't know that that's that much of a hot take considering she was the number 1 pick in the draft.
Another one where I was like, maybe I can steal Jackie Young late.
We haven't
love
really talked about like old Notre Dame on the show because otherwise you would have known that I'm a big Jackie Young fan.
I mean, none of the Enrique moments happen in 18 if Jackie Young doesn't put up 32
Right.
against UConn in the Final Four. None of it. You got number 5 too.
And then number 5, I'm going to go a little more history. Well, I don't know if we call it, it's still in the 2000s, so I don't know if you can call it history, but Ruth Riley from the first national championship team, she won a National Player of the Year. Got one there.
Yeah, 3-time Big East Defensive Player of the Year, top 5 in scoring, top 2 rebounding, top 2 block shots, most outstanding player on their first national championship team. Yeah. I need size. All right, give me Hannah. Give me Hannah Hidalgo. She will be a 4-time All-American by the time she's done. She's less than 1,000 points away from Enrique's scoring record. She's going to shatter it. She's going to shatter the points per game average, the double-figure scoring games. She'll get close to the steals record by year's end, so she's going to shatter that too. Yeah, so she's going to go down as probably the most statistically decorated player in Notre Dame history. Now all she's missing is, the big one. And then I need size. Just give me Brianna Turner. Program leader in blocks and reboundings. That's one of the great what ifs, right? What if she didn't tear her ACL in the 17 tournament? Mm-hmm. They lost in the Elite 8 to Stanford by a point. Would have gotten Asia Wilson in the Final Four. That would have been a great matchup. Instead, that's not how it turned out. Missed the next year, came back the following year. Yeah, I mean, she was really, 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 really good. And it's still, you still wonder what could have been, which is sad.
Yeah.
Do I have the next two? No.
I have the next 2. Do I have 2 more?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go back to the 2018 national title team and take Marina Mabry. I feel like she was just such a big part of that national championship as well. And then
I mean, it is legally obligated that if you're talking Notre Dame basketball, you have to have a Mabry. You can't not have a Mabry. I don't care which one.
So yeah, have to have a Mabry. And then I'm gonna go Kayla McBride for the next pick.
They've had stars, right? Because they've had Skylar. They had Enrique because she made the shots, like got a lot of the headlines, and rightfully so. Jackie Young, Jewel Lloyd, Kayla McBride. Like all these are really, really, really good, maybe underrated players compared to what they probably deserve nationally. Yeah, I like your team. I'll go back. You know me, I like going back in time. I have 2 more picks left. Give me Katrina Gaither on their first Final Four team. Near 2,000 points, nearly 1,000 rebounds. Had 25 and 16 in the Elite 8. And then, let's see. I got 1 more pick. I'll stay with that first Final Four team. Give me, most folks know her as Beth Cunningham. When she played, it was Beth Morgan. 3rd all-time in scoring. Number 1 all-time in scoring average for now until Hidalgo destroys that. Led the program to its first Final Four. She left with 28 school records. She was an assistant for Muffet for a long time. She's the head coach at Missouri State?
Mm-hmm.
Is?
I think is.
Yeah, head coach at Missouri State. Yeah, so give me Beth Cunningham as my final pick. And that leaves you with 1 more.
I'm going to take the current Notre Dame head coach, Neil Ivey, from when she was a player.
She's not topping many statistical charts, but really, really, yeah, 7 assists on that first championship team, 6 steals in the championship game, top 5 in assists. Yeah, I like that pick. So Megan is Jewel Lloyd, Jackie Young, Ruth Riley, Marina Mabry, Kayla McBride, and Neil Ivey off the bench. I have Enrique, Diggins, Hidalgo, Brianna Turner, Katrina Gaither, and Beth Cunningham, Beth Morgan, however you want to call her, coming off the bench. So that was fun. We have a couple of more weeks of this. Next week, we'll do South Carolina. So there'll be a lot of current names or recent history. Stanford, Tennessee, team based out of Storrs, Connecticut, you may have heard of. And then we'll wrap up with a draft of players from anywhere in the country except for the schools we already did. So that'll take us to basically crunch time of the season. Like, I know December's kind of quiet, exams. We got past the Thanksgiving tournaments. Once again, the new year, yeah, it's kind of a sprint to March. So, Megan, well, how much longer are we in Europe? Oh, I believe she's getting kicked out of the conference room, which is a good time because we're about to end the show. So, Megan, sounds like you have to go soon. Actually, and the TV's off, so that means the movie.
Yeah, we both have to go.
How long we in Europe for?
I come back Tuesday, so a few more days.
We didn't watch any soccer. I'm a soccer guy.
We're going to the Tottenham Spurs game tomorrow afternoon.
Are you dating a Spurs fan?
He's like just a soccer fan. He doesn't really have a team.
Well, then you go into the stadium, and I can't condone illegal things. Just boo, because Spurs is the worst thing to ever happen in the history of humanity. Go Arsenal. On that note, Megan, enjoy London. My kid's calling me. We got to run. Thanks for putting up with us for an hour.